I'm Tom Parker and welcome to Voices from the CEPS Ideas Lab. In this episode, I spoke with Christopher Fischer. Chris is a research fellow in the Global Governance, Regulation, Innovation and Digital Economy Unit at CEPS, where he works on artificial intelligence. During our interview, we discussed the need for a sovereign technology stack in Europe to compete with the US and China, and the collaboration that is required between innovation hubs across the EU. I hope you enjoy the episode. Well, Chris, hi, welcome.
Hi, good to be here, thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. It's a big first question, this. Why does Europe need its own sovereign digital infrastructure?
Well, that's a great question, because if you take your iPhone or you take your laptop, everything is working perfectly. So why would we need a sovereign digital technology stack? Given recent happenings in geopolitics, you could, of course, think of, since a lot of technology is from abroad, that it's a bit of a problem when it's not sovereign, because other state actors could leverage digital technology, for example, to exercise coercion, or for example, to impose levies on technology that we are using. That's probably the major reason currently to have a digital sovereign technology stack. But something that is closer to my area of expertise, innovation policy, is that you could really create a positive cycle within Europe if you have a sovereign technology stack. Because then you have innovation happening across all the layers of the stack within Europe, which again then is creating skilled workers in all of these areas, creating revenues for companies, and then creating a positive cycle for the entire innovation ecosystem.
Is that one of the main issues here, is that, especially let's say with AI, you've had a lot of talent go to, say, the US. You've got technology investment being better in the US. You've got AI technology stacks from the US that are then being used by everyone throughout the world, that Europe needs to massively catch up in all of these particular areas and create its own market, create its own talent pool, create its own tech infrastructure, its own investment to create that sovereignty. But the data is the most important as well, right?
That's exactly right. So you see it especially in AI, where a lot of investment is needed to build up infrastructure in data centers, in semiconductor manufacturing, but then also in skilled workers. A lot of investment is happening, especially in the United States, for example, with the Stargate project that has recently been announced. And that level of investment is not happening in Europe. And we need that level of investment to catch up and be a predominant global player.
And what's the competitive landscape like in Europe when it comes to the member states, as well as a collective bloc, when it comes to trying to create this sovereign leadership?
So we have what we call innovation hubs across Europe. And you see, if you look at the innovation hubs themselves, the level of innovation and talent there is on par with other innovation hubs across the world. If you look at London, Paris, or for example, Munich, you have a lot of innovation happening in different layers of the stack. But the problem in Europe is that there's not enough connectivity between those hubs that needs to be established.
What's one, if you had to pick one key action that needs to happen, say in the next 5 years, to make a Euro stack a reality, what would it be?
One problem with the entire sovereign technology stack is what I call the demand trap. Even if we had a technology stack, we wouldn't necessarily have consumers for that technology. They could still go around the world and procure that technology from other state actors, because it's better, it's cheaper, it's more reliable. So one thing that we need to do to make this a reality is to have a Europe-first procurement, both for public institutions as well as for private companies, to incentivize them to invest in European technology, to use it, to deploy it.
Okay, and so if that's what's needed, how do you actually do that when it comes to the bare bones of creating that?
Well, one way, and that is something that we propose in the report, is we could create a technology fund for Europe, which invests in key layers of the technology stack to develop them.
Well, if you could choose one of the layers of the Euro stack, and please describe to me a little bit more what you mean by the layers of a Euro stack, but if you could choose one of the layers of a Euro stack to be sovereign today, what would it be?
So we dissected the technology needed for digital services into different layers in the report. It starts with raw materials, goes over semiconductors, digital infrastructure, network connectivity, cloud services, of course, and then to data and AI. It is, given the current state of technology development in Europe, it's probably not feasible to have the entire technology stack sovereign within the next handful of years.
Right.
So picking a few key layers would probably be good and feasible to do. If I were to pick one, I would probably start at the bottom and invest as heavily in talent and skilled workers as possible, because that's what's driving then the innovation across the entire stack. You need skilled workers to conduct the research and innovation, but then also to deploy and apply the technology within companies and within services.
And it's much easier to rely on the other layers if they are foreign still than being sovereign for a while the transition occurs.
Right.
Is that true? As in the first layer, from what I understand you're saying, is that the first layer is about creating the talent, homegrown talent, but that we can still rely on certain parts of technology stack coming from abroad before everything becomes sovereign, correct?
Sure. I mean, it's a dicey question because yes, technology is currently working as it is, and we don't necessarily need to change the other layers into sovereign layers. But as we said in the beginning, given geopolitical developments, it might lead into difficulties if other state actors decide that they might want to use their technology for coercion.
What would be your last positive outlook? If you could summarize the next positive steps to take within the sovereign technology space within the EU, what would it be?
I think we have to believe in European innovation, that it is happening right now, and we should deploy it across the entire ecosystem, both in companies as well as in public institutions.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Chris. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Pleasure's all on my side.
Take care.
Thank you.